this is Sarah Caprell, and this is my presentation on my final project for ETD 625, my portfolio discoveries. I wanted to start out by giving an overview of what my objectives were when I designed my portfolio to give you an idea of some of the things that I was looking for and trying to accomplish with my portfolio. My three main objectives were for the viewer to be able to easily navigate the website. I thought if they could get around it easily, they may be more likely to go to it and explore. I wanted the viewer to be able to describe my educational and work background. And the third objective was for them to be able to identify products generated during teaching and classwork that are displayed in different visual formats. So to figure out whether or not my objectives were met, I created a usability survey of which I had 24 people respond to it. 10 were students, some of my former students or volleyball players. 7 were from the educational profession, so teachers and administrators. And the remaining of the 24 were from business profession, human services, and health services. I included this pie chart graphic to show you that I had a varying age group response to my survey, the majority coming from my students, so 10 of the 24 at 41%, but I had a few from each of the different age groups that I asked. The first area that I asked for some responses to was on the general aesthetics of the website. So I asked for feedback using the Likert scale on the color scheme, so whether or not it's appealing, if the font was easy to read, and if the overall look was aesthetically pleasing, along with the purpose being clear. So as you can see, I got some pretty overwhelmingly positive feedback, a few neutral responses. So the feedback that I got from their scale response was helpful, but I definitely found the comments that they left to be even more informative. So at the end of each grid response question, I gave them a chance to elaborate on their rating and asked for suggestions for improvement, so I knew, why I got a neutral as opposed to an agree or a strongly agree. So some of the feedback that I got, I'll just flip to my website and show you. Some of the feedback that I got was related to the color scheme. So a couple of my students replied that they liked the colors, or it looked nice, but they didn't like the colors, or they liked more dramatic things, so they would add more pop. Whereas, that was 2 students. Whereas everybody else said that everything looked professional, was easy to read, it gives the feel that I know what I'm doing and that my voice shines through. Most people found it very professional, including the colors and the font style. So I think that proved to me why it was important to get opinions from different age groups and occupations. It provided extra insight. The students' responses were appreciated, but it definitely didn't align with the majority. Several viewers commented that they were fond of the home page and the simple navigation, so I have my tab system up here. Some of these tabs have extra pages to click on, and many commented that they liked that I included a picture of myself on the home page. There was one suggestion for improvement that came out of this section, and that was under the About Me category. And as that loads, you'll see that I have a lot of text. So some of the feedback was to include more images, which I plan on doing. Down here I have one. I wasn't quite finished with this page. I was trying to find some appropriate pictures to include, but looking at it now, a lot of this is about my past and then my schooling and my work. So I'd like to include just some more personal information, something that they wouldn't necessarily get from my resume or from an interview. The next section that I got feedback on was on function. So these questions that I asked were, do the links work appropriately? Is the information appropriate? Are the artifacts related to the topic or the content? Is it easy to navigate? And are the tabs self-explanatory? So again, I got a lot of positive feedback, a couple neutral responses on the links working appropriately. But many viewers commented on the ease of the use and the simple navigation. So again, using the tabs up top to navigate to the additional pages that are linked to some of them. People stated that it looked great, everything worked well, easy to use and navigate, but some suggestions did come out of this feedback. One that I would like to do, but it's definitely a limitation of Google Sites. So for example, under More and Credentials, I wanted to display my certification, letters of rec, and my resume. And because I already have, the Credentials tab, it won't let me branch off to the side and provide more tabs to click on. So I had to create these as subpages. So their suggestion was the tabs with subpages should have an actual page instead of a page saying to click on the subpages. And like I said, something I would love to do if this would branch out to the right and say, credentials, and then to the right, certification, letters of rec, and resume. But unfortunately, Google Sites is limited in that. So, it shows that here's the navigation trail up here. And I think it's located down below, maybe not below. But yeah, I would like to do that, but obviously limited and can't. Another helpful suggestion, when going to like the leadership tab, for example, when they clicked here, the suggestion was to, instead of just give directions to go to the subtabs and check it out, was to give some more information on what they might find in the subtabs. So that's something that I'll be considering as I make my final revisions. And then the last suggestion that came out of the function section, which I appreciated, came under the conference slide. And here I talk about different conferences I've presented at. And here I talk about project-based learning and a video about cancer awareness. And this is a change that I've already made. So I included a hyperlink that says see video. So they said that it was confusing. They didn't necessarily know where to find the video. So by including this hyperlink, if they click on that, it'll take them to the project-based learning where this video is housed, and hopefully more people will have a chance to view it. The final area that I asked for feedback on was on clarity. So the questions that I asked were, you know how to contact me, you know me as a potential employee, you know my strengths, you know the purpose of the portfolio, and you know about my experiences. So again, the majority was some positive feedback, but interestingly enough, this is where I got some of my only disagree ratings, which I found pretty interesting. So several of the viewers commented on my homepage. The contact me button is very clear. If you click on it, it takes you to a form which allows you to complete it and send it to me, so then I know who's trying to contact me, and that opens up in a new window. If they happen to miss the contact me button under home, it's an additional page so they can get to it from there as well. One viewer stated that the portfolio was really professional. They thought that I had strong details. But the only flaw is that you can't really know someone without meeting them, but you can't fix that in a portfolio. So I thought that that was pretty thoughtful, and it was a good reflection on the fact that the portfolio is used as a resource and a tool to better know a potential employee rather than the sole resource of getting to know someone. Some other comments that I appreciated, someone stated, I believe you gave very insightful information. If people didn't know your accomplishments prior to the portfolio, they certainly will once they've read all you've done and how others feel you work as a teacher or mentor to your students. The disagreements ratings came from 2 former students, and they were related to whether or not my strengths were identified. And part of me considered, do I need to have a different page specifically highlighting my strengths? But because, I'm assuming because these came from students and it was definitely the minority of the feedback, was that maybe they just weren't or aren't familiar with the process of application interview and the portfolio being used as a resource. So I think they were looking for a specific page with bullets of here are my strengths, whereas I think they're sprinkled throughout the portfolio. One of the last things that I asked about was my showcase items. I asked a question on my survey of what was something that you'll remember or something that stood out. Several people commented on the pictures that were included, so between my homepage And my coaching page gave a personal touch to the portfolio. Others commented on my conferences page, so they were impressed at the number of different conferences that I've presented at, and the scope, and being a young teacher, just the different resources that I've been able to provide to show, what I've presented at. Many were impressed with the letters of recommendation, so I was a little worried about people not knowing that these were hyperlinks, but they obviously definitely found them and spoke about how they were impressed with the kind words, which was really nice. But the overwhelming showcase piece, which I figured it would be, was under project-based learning, and that's my Cells Gone Wild video. So I talk about it a little bit below, showing the award that I won, finishing top 3 in the nation for the New Tech Network, describe a little bit more about it, and then I talk about project-based learning as a whole. So I got some really good feedback along with some really kind words about my dedication, and that they felt that they walked away knowing more about me as a professional and the accomplishments that I have. So to flip back to my objectives, I feel like I've met all of them. I still have some things to improve and to finish, but overall the feedback was great, and I appreciated everyone that took the time to look at my portfolio.